Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we conclude our 5-part series on helping people in crises, today we will talk about how do you really help an individual navigate through a crisis. Keep in mind, first and foremost, that when a person is in a crisis, the most important thing to provide is assistance out of the emotions they find themselves in. The crisis creates an array of stirring of emotions. First, begin to build rapport with the individual. Then motivate the person into relief. Let them have some optimism about the future. Give them the reassurance, but not a false reassurance. Give the reassurance that there is hope for tomorrow, but do not give the person the reassurance that things are going to return absolutely as they were on the yesterday before the crisis. Help the person see the revelation in the crisis. Make sure the person, to the best of the helper's ability, can help the person learn a lesson from the crisis. The crisis is actually an opportunity to grow. And if a person goes through a crisis and they do not learn or they do not grow from the crisis, then the crisis has just been an emotional episode that may end up more traumatic than growth building. Help the person move toward reorganization of their lives. Once a person goes through a crisis, then there is a void many times that is left, or there's a readjustment that must take place. Encourage the individual that once the crisis is navigated properly, that it's also imperative that they look at reorganizing their lives in order to fill the void or to fill the gap, the emotional void, the emotional gap that has been left because of the crises. There are some needed ingredients in order for a person to successfully recover from a crisis. Help them cultivate an atmosphere of a helping relationship. One of the best things in the world that can happen to a person in a crisis is for them to redirect their energy at some stage away from their own pain into helping someone else. Because as long as a person is locked into his or her own pain, there is no room for them to be optimistic about the future or determined to help someone else. Be gentle as you can as you move the person through the crisis. Do not become oppositional. Understand that the person is hurting and the person is struggling to make sense out of what has happened to them. Be honest as you help the individual. Do not overpromise the impossible. Many times after a crisis, it is impossible to put things 100% back the way it was prior to the crisis. And the reality of helping an individual navigate a crisis is helping them come to that sometimes not unhealthy but painful reality that no, life will be productive, life will be good, but life can never ever be the same as it was. When a loved one dies, life will never return to what it used to be while that loved one was alive. If you worked at a very high-profile job setting and for some strange reason that particular company closed down or terminated you, life will never be the same with you as it relates to that company because you're no longer connected to that company. So do not reassure people inappropriately that things are going to be absolutely put back the way they were. Be accepting and kind throughout the individual navigating their crises. When a person is in pain, they lash out and they say things that are hurtful and that are many times painful. But be very careful as you help the individual in pain to be accepted. We call that unconditional positive regard. And also, in order to provide unconditional positive regard, as the helper, you must be aware of your own personal feelings and thoughts throughout the crises. Keep in mind that you are only human even as you help an individual move through crises. There are some individual attributes that somehow let us know how people will survive a crisis. Here's some. Individuals who have someone to positively stand by them even when they are resistant. Those people are more likely to come through the crisis okay. To know that somebody is there saying life is going to return to a degree of normalcy at some point. Individuals who understand the magnitude of their crises. When a person does not understand what is going on in their life and they refuse to understand what is going on in their life, it becomes very difficult for them to move away from the crises. Individuals who are able to move through their own personal stuff are more successful in moving through the crises. Individuals who perpetually blame others for the crisis. If this person had just done this, if this person had taken better care of their health, if this person had not gone down that particular street, they would have not been involved in the car wreck, and on and on. But at some point, individuals who are refusal or who cannot accept the fact that the crisis has happened, you can't erase it, those individuals will struggle with moving successfully through the crises. Also, individuals who have reason to live in hope are more successful in moving through crises. Life is bigger than the event that caused the crisis. When a loved one is sick, that's a major crisis. When a loved one dies, that's a major crisis. When you lose a job, that's a major crisis. Economic despair, that's a major crisis. But look at the bigger picture as you are moving through the crises. And individuals who are able at some point to look at the bigger picture, living in hope, are able to successfully move through crises. Individuals who have a biblical outlook on life are also able to successfully move through crises. Let's talk quickly about families who are able to survive crises. Families who refuse to be bitter. Families whose lives are lived in the present instead of the past. Families who are able to creatively yet godly manage conflict. And families who give each other space as they are moving through the crisis are more successful in navigating it. In the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verses 14 through 18, there's a story about a family that went through major crises. Abimelech, the husband, Naomi, the wife, her two sons, were in a famine in Bethlehem, Judea, and the husband moved them out to the land of Moab. Once he got them out to the land of Moab, the husband died, and then the two sons died. And Naomi is left with two daughter-in-laws, and she invites both of them to leave and return home. That's a major crisis. And look at how she is helped through the crisis. Ruth, the daughter-in-law, said, "Entreat me not to leave you, or to return from following after you, for where you go, I go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, that's where I'm going to die. And there I want to be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if for any reason but death I depart from you." When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. The positive is, Naomi had someone to support her through the crisis. I'll see you back in class again next time. Don't be late, and don't skip class.